As a child of about 7, I had a white friend named Nathaniel Wells. We were the best of buddies. He was frizzy haired and freckled, and I was brown and happy. I knew that we were different, but only in the way that some people are tall and some are short, some are fat, some are skinny. Those were the only differences that I saw. We played constantly together. Well, one day, a mutual friend of ours, another white fellow, Anson Ballard, he came over to play. Sometimes he played with me, and sometimes he played with Nathaniel, but we rarely played together. Well, this day we happened to be playing with his He-Man set. And Nathaniel said, you know, I got the Castle Greystoke in the house. And Anson said, well, let's go in there and play with it, like we did yesterday. And he looked at Anson and he said, well, you can come in the house, but he can't. I'm like, I can't. I've known him longer than he has. Why can't I come in? And that was my first exposure to racism. I read a few periodicals on this subject because I was curious about it. Because up until that point, I didn't think the fact that my skin was brown and his skin was pale had anything to do with it. And the periodicals led me to believe that hate is taught. You're not born hating. You don't even know what hate is. But I think that we can change it through education and communication. Hate comes from the most unimaginable places. I read a case study where an individual, as a child of 5 years old, he did 2 hours of Bible study every day with his father. And he was taught the Christian identity, which is the enslavement of black people or non-whites, or their extermination. He was suspended from school because he didn't want to sit next to a black child, 7 years old at that time. Didn't want to sit next to him. We learned this from our parents. And what did our parents learn this from? They learned this from their parents. It's transferred from generation to generation. Eventually it gets to the point where no one even knows, well, why we don't like each other. We just don't like each other. That's the way it's always been. But the thing about breaking away, because it's so engraved in our social sex, that breaking away could result in isolation. That means your relatives and your friends that you grew up with don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Harm. And they might cause you bodily harm. They may want to fight you, run over you with a car. They might want to disown you. They might want to hurt you financially. Or even death. They may even want to kill you. And society teaches us to just ignore the issue. Let's pretend like it's not there. Another case study said that people are taught to not judge others by their color, but instead, since we're all equal, we shouldn't see race. Edward Bonilla says that we did a terrible disservice by not seeing race. By ignoring it, we're pretending like none of this ever happened. And because of that, we never face it. And the common thing to say is, I don't see color. How can you not see color? You can't see this brown, this me. So we should ignore it. The same case study said that white children are taught to avoid discussing race, period. And every interaction, race is present. It's there. When you're talking to a stranger and she clutches a purse or someone won't make eye contact with you, you speak and they don't speak back. And it's more than just individual bias. It's systematic. It's engraved in American culture. Whereas if a black man has a hoodie on, he's automatically associated with being a criminal. But if other races have a hoodie on, oh, they must be cold. But we can break this generational bondage with education and communication. If we keep going, the first thing we should do, we start with children. There's a program in Pennsylvania where children are taught from a young age that all of us belong here. They're taught to embrace the differences in each other. And they're also taught to embrace the similarities. And don't ignore the elephant in the room. It's understood now that children are perceptive. They can tell when things are different and when they don't make sense. But we force feed it to them and force them to accept it. We've just talked about how hate begins. And I hope that we can reflect on the things that we've been taught and seek to change them and figure out what we're doing as individuals that are possibly damaging others.